All right, so we're diving into some interesting stuff today. We've got a pretty fascinating situation kind of brewing in sports media
Yeah.
involving LeBron James, Brian Windhorst, and
Hmm.
even Stephen A. Smith. And we're going to unpack it all here, try to get down to, the core of this exchange
Right.
and what it might tell us about these dynamics between athletes and reporters.
Yeah. It's an interesting one because it's a public-facing kind of window into these relationships that we don't often get to see.
Right, exactly. And it's not like this is some random reporter and some random athlete. These guys all have history.
Exactly.
So to kind of set the stage for everybody, this all started with LeBron
Okay.
on the Pat McAfee show, right? And he made some comments specifically about Brian Windhorst,
Yeah.
saying that Windhorst, acts like he's my best friend.
Oh, wow.
And even went so far as to call reporters who do that weird, which is, already kind of interesting. But what makes this even more fascinating is that Windhorst has covered LeBron since junior high. So we're talking about a really extensive history here.
Yeah, that's a long time to be following somebody's career like that.
Yeah.
And I imagine seeing somebody grow up in the public eye like that
Yeah.
has to create some sort of connection.
Right. It suggests, even if they're not, best friends or whatever, it suggests a deep professional connection
Yeah.
where this reporter has really witnessed this entire career firsthand.
Right.
So you can kind of see maybe where LeBron's remarks are hinting at, a little bit of discomfort
Oh,
with
yeah.
that perceived closeness.
Right. Maybe a blurring of those lines.
Right, exactly. And then, of course, it wouldn't be a good sports media story without Stephen A. Smith
Of course not.
jumping into the mix, right?
Right.
So he goes on ESPN and he kind of comes to Windhorst's defense,
Okay, yeah.
saying, I've never heard Windhorst claim to be LeBron's best friend.
Okay.
But then he goes on to say, and this is a really interesting part, he actually recalls LeBron himself previously saying that Windhorst likely knows him better than anyone.
Oh, wow. So he's kind of calling LeBron out.
Yeah, he's basically saying, like, hold on, you've said this before.
Right. You've contradicted yourself.
Right. And Smith goes on to kind of vouch for Windhorst, saying he's one of the best in the biz, fair, professional, focuses on the positive aspects of LeBron's story.
Mm-hmm.
And then he throws down the gauntlet and he
Right.
says,
Okay.
name one time Windhorst has done LeBron dirty.
Oh, wow.
Like really challenging LeBron to back up his claims.
Yeah, that's a bold statement.
Right. So, I mean, that's kind of the rundown of what happened. But now I want to get into like the why,
Right.
like why should we care about this,
Right.
Little media spat.
Well, I mean, first of all,
Yeah.
you have to consider the pressures that someone like LeBron James is under. Years and years of
Right.
constant media attention from all these different angles,
Yeah.
even from familiar faces, could understandably lead to this desire to just create a little bit of distance.
Mm-hmm.
So his comments, even if they seem a little out of line,
Yeah.
maybe it's an attempt to kind of reestablish those boundaries.
That makes a lot of sense.
And I think on the other side,
Yeah.
Stephen A. Smith
Yeah.
coming out so strongly in defense of Windhorst, it could definitely stem from loyalty,
Yeah.
to a colleague, but it's also a defense of journalistic integrity.
Right.
If Windhorst is generally seen within the industry as someone who's professional
Right.
and fair and balanced, then LeBron's characterization kind of challenges that.
Yeah. It calls it into question.
Exactly. And it really raises questions about how athletes perceive the media's role,
Right.
especially those who have covered them for so long.
Yeah. And I think what's so fascinating about this is that it really highlights that these athlete media relationships are inherently complex.
Absolutely.
Right. There's this constant negotiation between access and scrutiny and personal space.
Right. And it's all playing out in
Yeah.
such a public way.
Publicly. Exactly.
So this whole situation, even if it seems kind of minor,
Yeah.
it really shines a light on those tensions that can arise,
Big
even in
sense.
these seemingly,
Yeah.
well-established
Yeah.
professional dynamics.
So as we wrap up here, I want you to think about this, right? Think about all the different roles at play here.
Okay.
You've got the athlete, you've got the longtime reporter, you've got the media figure offering commentary on the situation.
Yeah.
What does this specific instance tell you about how these different perspectives interact and sometimes clash within the world of sports reporting? And how do you think power dynamics might influence these public exchanges?
Right.
And what kind of lasting impact do you
Yeah.
think these disagreements might have on the narrative surrounding prominent athletes?
That's a good question.
It's a lot to think about, and that's what these deep dives are all about.
Yeah, I like it.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, this is fun.
We'll catch you next time.
Sounds good.